Hello aspirants and welcome again to Legacy IAS Academy. In this lecture, we will be discussing about the armed cadres from Myanmar that tried to disturb the fencing work that was going on in around the Myanmar-Manipur boundary. Now, of course, India shares a huge boundary with Myanmar and India is undertaking fencing work over there. So we'll see why this fencing work is going on. What is this work? What is the border of India with Myanmar? Which states border it, etc., etc. And what has happened in this particular incident. So let's get started with the news. So what is the exact news over here? Around 10 armed cadres were killed. Killed by whom? Killed by the Assam Rifle personnel. So India's Assam Rifle personnel killed 10 armed cadres near the border with Myanmar in Manipur. Near the Myanmar-Manipur border, they were killed. So this is our Assam Rifle cadre. Right, it is India's Assam Rifle cadre which secures the borders of India in certain states, Manipur being one of them. So that's where the Assam Rifle killed the 10 armed cadres. Now, why were they killed? They killed them because they were disturbing the ongoing fencing work in the Indo-Myanmar border. Now, more on this news. Who were these armed cadres? They are said to be belonging to the Myanmar-based People's Defense Force. That is the Myanmar-based PDF. Myanmar-based People's Defense Force. This is nothing but the armed wing of the National Unity Government. Now, this National Unity Government is not the Myanmar's government, rather it is a government in exile. So we'll discuss that even more. Now, they had illegally crossed the border, and not just that, tried to disturb the Border Road Task Force BRTF's personnel who were engaged in this border fencing work. Now, let's understand what is this National Unity Government. So, with the help of and the leadership of Ms. Aung San Suu Kyi, Myanmar had established a democratic government, a sort of democratic government. However, during a coup, this government was toppled. And when this government was toppled, what happened is the National Unity Government was formed after this military coup. So this government was toppled. So new set of people claim themselves to be the government of Myanmar, which is of course not recognized internationally. That is why they are called as the government in exile. So this is what the National Unity Government is all about. Now, India has also warned Myanmar over here. Now, how have we done that? See, although the army had issued a statement on 16 May stating that the bodies were yet to be identified. However, it is quite possible that the Indian army, that India has warned Myanmar. How have we done that? Probably the sources who are telling the national newspaper that the bodies were handed over to the National Unity Government. So not exactly Myanmar, but at least the Myanmar's government in exile has been warned. The bodies were handed over to them and they were given a warning not to interfere in the internal matters of India or inside India. Do not interfere in the affairs inside India. Whatever you want to do, do it outside India's border. Nothing as such should happen within India is what was told to them. Now, when these 10 people were killed, there were certain arms and ammunitions that were captured. Arms means these guns, etc. Ammunition means the bullets, etc. was also captured. So what were captured? Around 7 AK-47. So these are those 7 AK-47 plus one is over here also probably. So these 7 AK-47s. Then one RPG launcher, probably this one M4 rifle, probably this one. You don't have to exactly know it, but these are the weapons also that were captured in mains answer. If you're writing, it should be important that they were captured with arms and ammunition. They were not unarmed. That is a very important point over here. And 4 single barrel breech loading rifles. Single barrel means this is the barrel of the gun. Single barrel means only a one barrel is there from which one bullet can come out from that particular side. As well as ammunition and other things were recovered following the gunfight that took place between the Assam Rifles and the armed cadres. Now, let's understand why this border, what is this border fencing, why is it going on, who is supporting, who wanted it, how did it all start. So India and Myanmar actually shared a porous border. Porous border, that means there were no restrictions as such, so people can enter India from Myanmar, people from India can go to Myanmar. It was a porous border as such. So India shares a huge border with Myanmar of about 1643 kilometers of border is what we share. Now the states that are involved are Mizoram, Manipur, Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh. All these states are sharing border with Myanmar over here. So over 1643 kilometers. If you talk about Manipur alone, it shares about 398 kilometers of border with Myanmar. Now, that is where the conflict is underway between the military rulers and the pro-democracy forces, where in Myanmar. So in Myanmar, there is a conflict ongoing with the between the two factions. One faction is a pro-democracy faction. The other faction are the military rulers, because military did a coup in Myanmar. So they are on one side. On the other side are the pro-democracy people who want democracy back in Myanmar. Now, why to fence the border? The border which was porous since so long, why are we now deciding to fence the border? That is because the border decision, this particular decision was taken because there is a conflict involving the Meitei and the Kuki community in Manipur that is going on. So you can see these visuals. These are the visuals of the ethnic conflict that is going on in Manipur between the Meiteis and the Kukis. So if these ethnic conflicts are going on, why to fence the border? That demand came from the Meitei tribe, or the Meiteis, from the Meiteis. So Meiteis had been demanding the fencing. Why? Because they were saying that from the Myanmar side there is illegal immigration that is happening of the Chin Kukis who are coming from Myanmar and settling in Manipur and further fueling the ethnic conflict which is already going on, and that will lead to threat to the identity of the indigenous communities of India. Indigenous community means the community that inherently lived, stayed in India. So Indian communities will be basically facing the identity threat if this continues to go on, as a result of which Meiteis demanded that the fencing needs to be done over here and the porous border should not be porous anymore, subsequent to which the government, not just for this reason, but not just because there's a demand, but it is a logical demand, and the ethnic violence is also going on, and the migration is illegal migration, as a result of which the Home Ministry of India and Indian government in general has taken a decision to start fencing of this porous border. Now, there is another issue over here. The other issue is that the Kukis do not want that. So the conflict is going on between Meiteis and Kukis. Now here also they are differing with each other. Meiteis are saying to close the border. Kukis are saying otherwise. In fact, you have Kukis, Nagas and Mizos on the other hand that have opposed the fencing. Right? They have opposed the fencing, and they are basically opposing the fencing and opposing the scrapping of the free movement regime. So earlier, since the porous border was there, free movement regime was there. That means you can freely move from one country to another. Now, since the fencing will now come, so what will happen? This free movement regime which is there, it will now be discontinued. So Kukis on the other hand are opposing the scrapping of the free movement regime. That means they want the free movement regime to be present. But Meiteis are in favor of fencing because Meiteis are saying it is the Kuki Chin tribe that are coming illegally and settling, which is creating identity threat. Identity threat means there will be a demographic shift. You will suddenly see more and more Kuki Chin tribes in India, and the percentage of the Meiteis will keep going down as an overall percentage of the population of Manipur, and hence the identity crisis. Now, Kuki do not have a problem with that, possibly because the tribe that is infiltrating is the Kuki Chin. That is one main reason. So they are completely opposed of this, and they rather want the free movement regime to continue, and they are opposing the scrapping of free movement and the construction of the border fencing in Manipur. So this is what is going on. Here also the two communities are differing each other. Thank you.